I'm delighted to welcome Madhu, Magadi, and Jean Vayngrib. Welcome to the podcast. We are going to talk about KYC and blockchain. This is so exciting for me because everyone's always saying the blockchain is dead. And so Madhu, help us introduce our esteemed guest.
Absolutely. Jean, CEO of Tradle.ai, which we've been working with Tradle for the last few months. And I think I request you to introduce yourself, what you do, how this, and why Tradle as a name. That will be helpful.
Sure. So, Jean Vayngrib, CEO of Tradle. We do KYC on blockchain with a lot of AI. And like you said, a lot of concern about the blockchain historically has been in the enterprise market because it was conflated with crypto. But we know that there are significant platforms right now already in use, like JP Morgan's Kinexys platform that is using blockchain for correspondent banking, for flow of information. The European banks combined together to create a blockchain-based network for compliance. And in the future, we will see supply chain management networks that are answering the question, is my electronic device that just arrived, was it tampered with or not? And this is important to understand in today's world where security is critical.
Of course. So Madhu, help the audience understand what KYC is.
Yeah, KYC stands for Know Your Customer. It is the first process when what we call as onboarding an end client to a banking ecosystem. So it has around 11 domains, meaning demography, financial, tax, regulatory, all these aspects are captured, and it is used in a transaction. Say, for example, sometimes when you are dealing with bank to bank, it's millions of dollars. So before you take action on that transaction, you want to know who is initiating it and who is receiving it. So therefore, KYC plays a integral part of it, and this is what determines, and that is the foundation for money exchange, regulatory information exchange, data exchange between the banking institute as well as the regulator. So that is the importance of KYC.
So Jean, how
do you agree?
I could add that money laundering is a global problem. Okay. About $2 trillion are laundered every year. So KYC is a cornerstone of anti-money laundering measures by the banks and regulators around the world. It's a global problem. I'm insisting for the banks to constantly change and tighten their grip on the KYC, Know Your Customer, and anti-money laundering measures.
So tell us about the platform and how you're working with enterprises on this problem.
We started with the blockchain. Blockchain, in the essence, is a cooperative technology. And what we are doing is we're connecting banks into one network, banks and their customers. So the banks can accept customers much, much faster, give them access to their financial services, and as they expand within the bank to different banking services, and as the customers expand jurisdictionally to other markets, they can get access to banking services much, much faster. And the second problem is refresh their KYC. The KYC needs to be constantly refreshed, and that becomes a problem for the customers of the banks, because not only they spend months and months getting onboarded by the banks, but then they risk losing those services because the refresh hasn't been done in time, and it also takes months. So that's the problem we're solving.
I just wanted to add, I'm just putting horses before the cart, right? So what NTT and Tradle are trying to take this as a vertical global offerings that establishes exchange. Imagine like a stock exchange, a multi-jurisdictional exchange for banks and regulators to operate, and so that the investigations, roughly between 30 to 48 days is every case takes Now we wanted to make sure that how do we accelerate it? That means huge amount of middle and back office costs, right? Through blockchain, you can eliminate those costs and give those money back to their innovation and their future roadmap. This is one. Second, also by doing this, using KYC blockchain as a foundational fabric, now you can do sanction screening, FATCA, which are all things involved in high value payments across borders. So this is a big market. Just to tell you, by 2030, banks are spending roughly $200+ billion just to have this ecosystem infrastructure built up to adhere to various regulators. There are around roughly 90 regulators globally. This is the opportunity, and that's where we see a roadmap and a future for us.
It may be a little bit difficult to understand the level of complexity that we're talking about here, because we're talking about a lot of different actors, time factors, but it would be interesting to also share with the broader business community why blockchain is so important. Can we just have a moment to review this again, because maybe people forgot?
Sure. Yeah. Simple example. So the multinational that works across 20 jurisdictions has 12 banking relationships, share their information in a particular setting, for example, getting payment services from a bank or market services. And they need to go to another part of the same bank and repeat the same process again. And across
that's the
different
exchange. I
that's
see.
the exchange.
That's going to
Exactly.
save.
Yes.
That's a great
Right.
example.
Right. And across different jurisdictions.
Right.
With different requirements.
Regulations.
Different regulations and different
Everything.
jurisdictions.
And processes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there was an attempt, not once, by Bloomberg and others to create a centralized exchange. But for this sensitive information, customer data that cannot cross borders of country borders, that have legal problems crossing country borders, for that centralized exchange doesn't work. That's why blockchain.
That's why you need the blockchain.
Yes.
Exactly. It's an open system.
Yeah.
It's actually a network.
A network,
So
yes.
everyone has their own setup. Every bank has its own setup. And the exchange is happening on the network. And the exchange actor is the customer themselves. So there's no central store of data. The customer gives their data to one bank, gets back the verifications, gives that data back to another bank or another division of the same bank, together with verifications. And then at the next date, the verification is being monitored and either revoked or enhanced by another bank, and therefore the whole network starts working for each individual bank that is participating in the network. So never before the bank had this vision of the whole network.
Correct.
They only had a tunnel vision.
Great use case for blockchain.
Yes, and that's the reason the non-repudiation is so important, because when you use blockchain technologies, there are 2 or 3, they are interoperable in nature. Depending on regulator and the region and the country, they choose certain. So now that interoperability problem is solved, you only exchange, as Gene said, data sovereignty is a critical regulatory yardstick. So blockchain uses offsets. So it doesn't even send actual data. It sends a signature saying that, hey, I verified this data, happens to be true, that's it. They will never send customer information to another corresponding entity.
Right, it's a verification.
It's a verification.
So it's
Right.
signaling network.
That's
but
the
it
point
doesn't
about
move the data
KYC,
Correct.
is know your customer to verify your customer.
Right.
Yes.
So Madhu, tell us a little bit about how we're partnering with Tradle and your experience with that.
Absolutely. See, Tradle has the architecture and a platform that is perfected, and in fact, Tradle has almost close to establishing a kind of consortium amongst the financial institutions.
Right. Yes, this network that we.
Yeah, network. Due to COVID, it took a little bit of time, but now it is back on, and we are awaiting an exciting news, which is maybe a few days.
Okay.
That we cannot share at this time, but
Understood.
that will give the pipeline. In essence, NTT is a global system integrator, and we wanted to make sure that we, using our stature and our status with some of these key financial institutions in Europe, in North America, in Asia Pac, and we established that large company from indemnity because the risk of these transactions are very high. And then we enable a startup fintech which has a unique architecture and cuts down the time, speed to market aspects. We marry these two together and solve a client's problem. That is how we are working together. And I have seen the architecture, and it's really one of the modern, and it also gives us ability to future-proof it, say accommodate changes that may happen. Like say for tomorrow, somebody uses blood as a DNA signature, right? If that comes, we should be able to accommodate that without much of changes. That is what...
Amazing. Wow. It's interesting to imagine the level of authentication that we're going to need in these times with
and especially
that actors
remotely, right? When the actors are in one country, when the controlling person or ultimate beneficial owner of the company, so cross-border, remotely,
and banks want to be able
with
to
a high
trust.
level of security.
Yeah, so the theme here is trust, and I love that.
Yes.
And so to wrap up, Gene, help us understand how this platform is gathering all this diverse data, and I imagine there are other opportunities for the platform by being in this role of this exchange and curating this network.
Right, so the key question that enterprises are asking themselves right now, how do we move at the speed at which AI is moving in the world, right? And what we are doing with KYC, we're already when we're coming in, we're saying we will integrate with your CRM system, with your client lifecycle management system, CLM system, with your risk system. By the way, this is where a partnership with NTT is coming to play, because we, as an innovator, as a startup, cannot go globally and integrate with hundreds of banks at scale, right? This is where we need partnership. And so we go in and we integrate with those systems, and we have a platform for that. And then we enhance that data with verifications that are coming generated by AI itself and shared across the whole network. So this way we're establishing a system of records of the golden quality, something that wasn't possible before, with the risk discovered across the whole network. And risk is huge, right? So seeing that risk across the whole network is the critical component of that. And then based on that system of record, now you know who the good actor is and who is not. And good actors start moving with their business much, much faster. And on top of that system of record, you can create AI applications together with NTT and NTT research that we're discussing. What kind of applications will be built? Some of them we already prototyped and described and showed to NTT, and they're very excited about it. So this is where the actual collaboration starts. How do we build up for the age of AI fast, on the absolutely secure, trusted global
applications?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to have you two back so we can talk about the amazing applications that you're building. Thank you so much for coming.